In 2021, Spider-Man No Way Home made nearly $2 billion, but the biggest moves came after the credits rolled. This is how Tom Holland and Zendaya used Marvel to launch something far bigger than a franchise. When Spider-Man No Way Home dropped in 2021, it wasn't just another superhero sequel, it was a global phenomenon. The film pulled in over $1.9 billion at the box office, making it one of the biggest movies in history. That kind of success came with real money, especially for the leads. Tom Holland reportedly earned around $10 million for this role in the final film alone, while Zendaya's salary grew significantly with each installment of the trilogy. They didn't just headline a blockbuster, they became faces of a franchise that redefined what Marvel brand could do post-Avengers. Before Spider-Man, both of them were already rising fast. Zendaya with Euphoria and Tom with The Impossible and Civil War. But Marvel changed the scale. With Disney behind it, the exposure wasn't limited to movie theaters, it meant global press tours, toy deals, video game likenesses, and a place in a universe that fans obsess over. Suddenly, they weren't just young stars, they were A-listers with real negotiating power. Their chemistry on and off the screen didn't hurt either. As the media caught on to their relationship, interest in their personal lives fueled even more attention. That sort of spotlight can be overwhelming, but they managed it with a level of restraint that kept them from burning out. Instead of letting the fame define them, they used it as a launchpad. Now, both are commanding multi-million-dollar paydays and choosing projects that reflect that shift. Zendaya's work in Dune and Challengers came with big budgets and even bigger stakes. Tom moved from Marvel to Apple TV Plus's The Crowded Room and other ventures that let him stretch a bit more. They took the biggest stage in Hollywood and used it to get the leverage they needed. Fame gave them the attention, but it was the choices after Spider-Man that started turning that into long-term success. But fame was just the beginning. What came next would shape their careers and their bank accounts in totally different ways. Zendaya's rise didn't happen overnight, but it has been sharpened steady. After her Disney Channel days, she could have easily faded into typecasting, but instead she kept choosing projects that gave her more to work with. Then Euphoria came along. Not only did she lead the show as Rue, she became the youngest woman to win the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series twice. That alone would be enough to cement her status, but she didn't stop there. Zendaya also stepped into an executive producer role on the show by season 2, giving her a real say in how the story was told, and more importantly, who got paid. That kind of move changes the math. Producing brings more than creative input. It means back-end points, budget discussions, and long-term ownership. It's one thing to be the face of a series, it's another to be the one of the people calling the shots behind it. Outside of acting, her brand partnerships have been just as calculated. She became the face of Lancome and Smartwear and landed major campaigns with Bulgari and Valentino. But what makes those deals stand out isn't just the size of the checks, it's how few there are. Zendaya has kept her endorsements selective, building long-term relationships instead of bouncing between brands. With Valentino, she's not just modeling clothes, she's part of the story they're telling. And when she shows up at Fashion Week or the Met Gala, it's not just red carpet noise, it actually means something because she doesn't overdo it. As for money, her estimated net worth sits somewhere between $20 and $25 million. But that number is climbing. With production credits, high-paying deals, and lead roles in both TV and big studio films like Dune, it's clear she's playing for the long run. Her career isn't built on short-term hits, it's built on leverage, patience, and a clear sense of direction. While Zendaya was building a reputation for control and class, Tom was proving he could carry a film without the mask. After Spider-Man, Tom Holland could have played it safe. Just coasted on big-budget roles and franchise sequels. Instead, he made a sharp move with Uncharted, stepping into the lead as Nathan Drake. The film pulled in around $400 million globally, proving he could carry a blockbuster outside the Marvel machine. It wasn't groundbreaking cinema, but it checked a major box. Holland could headline a major release and draw an audience based on name alone. Then came The Crowded Room on Apple TV+. The series didn't get rave reviews across the board, but what mattered more was how personal it was to him. He didn't act just in it, he produced it. That role gave him space to explore different parts of himself as a performer, digging into mental illness and identity in a way Marvel never could. It wasn't a flashy hit, but it showed range, and more importantly, it showed that he's thinking long-term. He's not just collecting paychecks, he's building a resume that could take him far beyond the superhero space. He's also been open about the toll some of these projects have taken on his mental health. In recent interviews, he has mentioned taking a break from acting, stepping away for a bit to reset. That kind of honesty is rare in the industry, especially for someone still in their 20s, with studios likely pushing him to keep the momentum going. But that's part of what makes him different. He knows the machine will keep turning, and he's not afraid to slow down if it means staying sharp for the next thing. Tom Holland's decisions aren't just about rules, they're about staying in control of a career that could easily get swallowed up by the Hollywood circle. He's had the kind of success that buys breathing room, and he's using it wisely. The Spider-Man paycheck was the entry ticket. What he's doing now is about proving he belongs for the long haul. With both of them bringing in serious money solo, their combined lifestyle has become something most couples could only dream of. In 2022, reports surfaced that Zendaya and Tom Holland had quietly purchased a house together in London. It wasn't a sprawling estate with gates wide open to the press. It was a private home in a residential area, estimated at around £3 million, or roughly $3.7 million. It's the kind of place meant for real living, not for bragging rights. Renovation crews were spotted, and there was talk of installing high-tech security, which made sense. When your relationship is watched by millions, keeping some parts of life protected becomes more about peace than luxury. Zendaya also owns property in Los Angeles, a $4 million home in Encino, tucked away with plenty of privacy. She bought it a few years ago, but she rarely posts anything about it. You won't find room tours, architectural spreads, or TikToks filmed in her kitchen. Same goes for Tom. Even though fans are constantly trying to piece together details about their spaces from blurry paparazzi shots or the occasional background during an interview, both of them have stayed careful about what they share. Neither of them lives loudly online. Zendaya rarely posts, and when she does, it's usually about her work. Tom famously left Instagram for a while, saying the constant scroll wasn't doing anything good for his mental health. Together, they've managed to keep most of their private moments just that, private. Even their joint appearances are spaced out, a few red carpets, the occasional vacation snap caught by photographers, but nothing that feels curated or overly planned. It's not about hiding, it's about keeping something for themselves. And in a world where oversharing is standard, that restraint says a lot. They're not trying to create an image that fits every platform, they're building a life that works off camera. The homes may be luxurious, but the real value is in the low-key way they move, and the brands that trust them. Zendaya's rise in fashion wasn't accidental, it was built step by step, outfit by outfit, with her longtime stylist, La Roche, by her side. Together, they've created some of the most talked about red carpet looks of the last decade, from the Joan of Arc-inspired Versace armor at the 2018 Met Gala, to the sculptural Rick Owens dress she wore to the Dune premiere. These weren't just fashion statements, they were reminders that Zendaya doesn't follow trends, she sets them. Her role as a Valentino ambassador solidified her place in the high fashion world, not just as a guest, but as a central figure. Meanwhile, Tom Holland made his quite own move into that space. In 2022, he became the face of Prada's menswear campaign. The photos showed a different version of him, cool, understated, confident. It wasn't flashy, but it worked because it felt like him. He's not trying to outdress Zendaya or become a fashion style icon himself, but he doesn't need to. His connection to fashion feels natural. Sharp suits when he wants to be formal, then back to t-shirts and Vans when he's off duty. It's simple, and it's real. Together, they've become a fixture in the luxury fashion world. Zendaya's presence at Paris Fashion Week is treated like an event in itself. Photographers track every look, designers adjust schedules to accommodate her, and fans hang on to every appearance. She has walked the carpet at the Met Gala in pieces that later show up in museum exhibitions. Her influence isn't limited to women's fashion either. She's shaping expectations across the board. What makes them work in this space is the lack of pretense. They don't try to dominate the conversation, but they always seem to be at the center of it. Whether it's Zendaya in Vintage Mugler or Tom quietly fronting Prada, they've tapped into fashion without getting swallowed by it. They know when to show up, what to wear, and how to keep people guessing. Fashion gets the attention, but what really powers this couple is how they handle business. Zendaya and Tom Holland may have started in franchise roles that brought instant fame, but they have both made decisions since then that suggest they're thinking long term. Zendaya, for instance, didn't act just in Euphoria, she took on the role of executive producer by the second season. That's not a vanity title, it means she's part of the financial and creative conversations, budgets, story arcs, hiring, scheduling, and according to reports, she successfully renegotiated her deal to earn around $1 million per episode, putting her in a rare bracket for television actors. Tom's made similar moves. His work on The Crowded Room for Apple TV Plus wasn't just about playing a complicated role, it was also his debut as a producer. That role gave him experience behind the scenes, and it also positioned him within the Apple content machine, a growing space for prestige television and streaming films. Add to that his continued relationship with Sony through the Spider-Man franchise, and you've got someone who's balancing box office hits with more strategic long-term opportunities. What stands out with both of them is how selective they have been with endorsements and partnerships. Zendaya doesn't jump from one brand to the next. Her long-running contracts with companies like Lancome and Bulgari work because they've been built over years. These aren't just sponsorships, they're relationships. Tom has done the same, quietly aligning with Prada menswear and staying out of the usual influencer-style campaigns that flood social media. There's something deliberate in how they work, not rushing into deals, not overexposing themselves, and making sure that when they show up in a campaign or on a screen, it means something. These choices may not always grab headlines, but they build trust with audiences, with studios, and with brands willing to invest in them for the long haul. And while their careers are serious, their relationship is what truly sets them apart in Hollywood. Zendaya and Tom Holland have been one of the most famous couples in Hollywood for years now, but they've never played into the usual script. You don't see them doing couples interviews or cashing in on joint endorsements. When they show up together, like at the Spider-Man No Way Home premiere or at the Ballon d'Or in Paris, it's rare and it feels intentional. They're not hiding their relationship, but they're not selling it either. Zendaya said it plainly in an interview once. She wants to protect the peace. That means keeping their personal life personal, even when the internet is constantly watching. And for someone who's as much in demand as she is, that's not easy. Whether she's starring in Euphoria, attending Fashion Week, or filming Dune, cameras are always nearby. But she's learned how to navigate it. She shares what she wants to share and leaves the rest alone. Tom, too, has made it clear where he stands. He once talked about how having privacy helps him stay grounded, how it lets him be more present and engaged in his real life instead of constantly performing for the outside world. That mindset is rare for someone who grew up in the public eye. Instead of getting caught in the cycle of press tours and gossip headlines, he's opted out when he can. No drama, no declarations, just space. They don't post about each other much, and they've never tried to use their relationship to promote anything. That's probably why it still works. When they're photographed together, it feels less like a PR move and more like two people just living their lives. Even when paparazzi catch them on vacation or grabbing coffee, it doesn't look staged, it looks normal. In a world where celebrity couples often become brands, Zendaya and Tom have managed to do the opposite. They keep their bond close, not because they're secretive, but because they know what happens when too much gets shared. So, when they're not acting, producing, or dressed in couture, how do they actually spend their time? Zendaya and Tom Holland could easily live the kind of lives where every move is broadcast, every dinner snapped by fans, and every vacation posted in real time. But that's not how they do things. When they travel together to places like Venice, Paris, or Budapest, it's usually only noticed after the fact. Photos show up from fans or paparazzi days later. No captions, no announcements, no need to let the world know in the while they're still in the moment. Whether they're sightseeing or just walking hand in hand down a quiet street, the tone is always the same: private. They've talked in interviews about how they enjoy staying home, cooking, and just hanging out. Tom once mentioned in a British GQ interview that he enjoys making pasta, while Zendaya's shared her love for baking, specifically banana bread, on Instagram years ago. These aren't overproduced couple goals videos or branded cooking nights, it's just what they do when they're offset and away from work. For a couple with so much visibility, they've managed to hold on to a surprisingly grounded day-to-day rhythm. Sometimes, fans or photographers catch them doing the most ordinary things: grabbing coffee, running errands, or walking a dog. These moments tend to get a lot of attention online, mostly because they feel rare. But that's also the point. Their lives aren't being lived out for clicks. What you see is the bare minimum. Everything else stays behind closed doors, which is probably why people are still curious. They're not pretending to be normal, but they're also not trying to build a fantasy. It's just a quiet kind of balance. Working when it matters, staying quiet when it doesn't, and making room for the kind of regular life most people in their position can't hold on to for very long. They may live in the spotlight, but they've figured out how to keep the most valuable parts of life just for themselves. So, if you had millions in the world watching, would you live out loud or keep it quiet like Zendaya and Tom? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.